So we are in a very bizarre situation because it is very, very, very likely Boris Johnson is going to be the next leader of the Conservative Party and by pretty much proxy the leader of this country. And I'm not going to lie, it's very worrying. As I've said in the past, Boris Johnson is very, very right-wing in his views, to a point where he has already said he wants to give a tax cut to rich people. Not the people that have been suffering horrendous austerity. But that's Boris Johnson. That is literally who he is. But this comes from politics.co.uk, and I agree with it completely, 100%. Something terrible is about to happen, and we are powerless to stop it. For years, the idea, like the man himself, was a hilarious joke. Boris Johnson, the knowingly bumbling TV magnate with a focus group scarecrow-style haircut and the carefully lovable bursts of Latin, ascended to lead one of the world's largest economies. It was a satirist dream of Britain, a dystopian feudal theme park injected into your brain by P.G. Wodehouse. Johnson's Britain would be a country which had lost any ideas or seriousness and had given up to the complete and full technical or political entertainment. Ha! It could never happen. Well, as the saying goes, the joke's on us. The unimaginative horror now seems almost inevitable. An ego attached to flesh is about to get exactly what it wants and none of what it deserves. Everything about our sense of natural justice tells us this must be wrong. We may not like Jeremy Hunt or Sajid Javid, but they have demonstrated a degree of competence and maturity, and we can oppose them in a fair fight. But there is nothing reasonable, trustworthy, or dependable about Johnson. He is not capable of telling a simple truth or delivering a basic promise. He has demonstrated over many years of his manifest unfitness of any kind of high office. And the fact that we are having to repeat this now itself feels completely remarkable. And yet, here we are. We are today living that bad dream in which your unconsciousness tantalizes you with the rush of impending disaster while you remain frozen to the spot. Boris Johnson is coming, and there's nothing you can do about it. And the worst thing is that you're awake. It seems hard to remember now, but Johnson was thought to be a down and out just a few months ago. He called to, quote, fuck businesses and had infuriated some of his allies. While moderates were appalled by his open courting of Steve Bannon and Nigel Farage, his notorious ridiculing of the burqa last year had almost inconvertibly offensive remark in March that money to investigate historic child abuse was, quote, spaffled up the wall, further alienated him from his party's centre. But then the Tories remembered what they were put on earth to do: win. What do they want to win? Nobody knows or cares. It's just good, that's all. And you want to know what Johnson would do with the win? Why, it doesn't matter. It's not the point. And after the first round of Tory leadership competition, there were 7 gloomy eponymous Mark Harper, a powerless and elementarily stupid Andrea Leadsom and Esther McVeigh were dispatched, leaving a group of men scrambling to win an arms race of zero delusion. Matt Hancock saw which way the wind was blowing and today bowed out, leaving 6 in the ring. Johnson, Michael Gove, Hunt, Javid, Dominic Raab and Rory Stewart. Hunt so far seems Johnson's least likeliest opponent, and Javid has lost much of his momentum. Grove looks to have been fatally wounded by the mysterious sourced cocaine hit job. Raab increasingly resembles an 80s Tory toy boy, entrusted with the freshers in institutions, while Stewart just wants to be left alone in a TV studio so that he doesn't have to talk about his colleagues. The most bizarre aspect of this race is that it purports to be taken in a vaguely normal times. The candidates are busy discussing future tax and spending plans, as though they are not also balancing on the edge of a Grand Canyon on one leg. On one level, this is impressive denial. Pretend Brexit isn't there and maybe it'll go away. But really, it is just about cakeism in the economic form. The party that wants, in a manner of speaking, to simultaneously fuck business and make love to it. The Tories get to sound pleasing and dependable, traditional with their massive tax cuts for the rich of a massively abolition of the VAT, while some of them at the same time assuming that the mantle of breathless revolutionaries who scream that people just want sovereignty and identity back. But this is just obscene, but also very greedy. You can't have it both. You've got to put one of them away. Anyway, it'll reassure you to know that Brexit hasn't been completely forgotten. The candidates are still paying lip service to the idea of renegotiating the backstop, while sounding subtly upbeat about the unique and entirely unwanted national breakdown of no deal. The Tories remain intoxicated by no deal. Johnson, for one, thinks it would shoot Farage's fox. Shoot Farage's fox, funny that. David Cameron's apologies in advance once thought he had shot Farage's fox as well. In January in 2013, when the Prime Minister announced a referendum in the event of a Tory majority, thus in an attempt to resolve a short-term political problem, the hubristic cancer decided to gamble away his country. Cameron and Johnson didn't just go to the same school, they are cut from the same cloth. The bad news is that Johnson's premiership is in the hands of Tory members. The good news is that no deal is in the hands of our MPs. Admittedly, you remember that those MPs include John Redwood and Nadine Dorries, but it doesn't sound like the greatest news either, but bear with me. MPs, like the public, do not want a no deal and have shown repeatedly that they are prepared to act against it. Yes, it was bad that Parliament this week rejected the opportunity to introduce new legislation, but there will be numerous other opportunities before October, and John Bercow will ensure MPs' voices are heard. Critically, many opponents of Wednesday's motion are still opposed to crashing out. The ultimate question will be how many Conservatives will sacrifice their careers to save their country. Yes, the Tories want to win, but at least some of them want to survive. So cheer up. We may be getting Boris Johnson, but life could still be worse. And that's where we are. We are indeed in an absolute hilarious situation, because whenever these Tory MPs are quizzed on the Irish backstop, they don't have any answers. They literally have no answers, because there is not an answer to this question. You cannot solve this problem without being in a customs union. So even if you were to leave the EU politically, you would still be in it with the customs union. And you cannot solve the Northern Ireland border situation without remaining in the customs union. This is the reality. And yet, so many times, now all these videos we have done so many times, every single time, it's Brexit, reality, and it just smashes into the wall. There is no destroying this wall of reality. Brexit has become an absolute fantasy quest that no one wants. And to be honest, no one wants to see Boris Johnson dressed up as Conan the Barbarian. That is one fantasy no one wants to see.